I think we're ready to start. Well, welcome everyone to the celebration, the kickoff for the Claremont Process Nexus. And we have a wonderful program planned for you. First, we're going to start with a formal program. And then after that, we're going to go into some training for the platform, and we'll have more open time for questions and sharing. And I'm going to get us started. My name is Kathleen Reeves, and I'm with the Cobb Institute, but I've been working on the team for the Process Nexus. And I'm excited about this because I think this really embodies the idea of process thought, the helping each other, sharing, learning about what everybody's doing, keeping us together. Not fragmented, but just supporting each other. And I think we'll hear more about that from John Cobb in a minute. I want to start with some Zoom etiquette. So when our performers are performing, we're going to have music for you, and we're going to have a few speakers. And so please keep your microphones muted during that time. And I think that's about it. I'll turn it over to Jay Mcdaniel.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here, and we're all glad you're here. It's great to see you. Many new friends and old friends and familiar faces and unfamiliar faces. Glad you're all here. And we form a kind of community. We don't know each other. We don't know everybody, but together we do form a community, and that's what we've got going today. I think you're going to be, I hope you're excited about what we call the platform or the website that we're about to show you, and you'll find it very useful. But first things first, let's get a little context from John Cobb. I won't introduce John because I don't think there's anybody with us right now that doesn't just know John, but has been deeply influenced by John. And if you think of the trajectories that we represent that were spawned by John, there are plenty of them. So without further ado, John, can you give us a little context for this? And then I think Richard's going to show us the platform.
Okay. Dear friends, let me add my welcome to all of you. I truly feel like celebrating this morning. Thanks especially to Richard Livingston and Kat Reeves, a long-time hope is being fulfilled. That is, the scattered efforts to promote and enact process thought are establishing a basis for mutual support. This is happening in a context in which process thought is moving from the extreme margin to a more significant role in this country. Let me speak for a moment about the increased openness to what we have to offer. It does seem that the need for radical change is being recognized by more people. Sadly, my rejoicing over this development is checked by the realization that it is due to the beginning of the occurrence of the terrible future we have been predicting. Climate change can no longer be dismissed as speculation. The world's forests are disappearing not only from fires intensified by climate change, but also by intentional human actions governed by short-term economic interests. The same is true for pollinators of our crops. The poison introduced into atmosphere and soil to increase production is beginning to pervade our food as well. Soil quality is deteriorating. We have a foretaste of the probable disruptions of trade, this time due partly to the pandemic, but also due to the nature of late modern economies. Socio-political order is threatened as we begin to experience the consequences of our nihilistic schooling. If people do seek an alternative, ours has a chance. It is the best developed. The title of the 2015 conference, Seizing an Alternative, had little resonance at the time, but it has increasing relevance today. Possibly, just possibly, the alternative goal may become ecological civilization. Possibly, just possibly, many will recognize that working for an ecological civilization needs grounding in an organic vision of the world. Possibly, just possibly, an organized movement with many organizations involved will heighten these possibilities. Even if we continue to be largely ignored by decision makers, our role may have some importance. Our organic vision expresses itself in human communities that connect humanity with the earth. Communities of that kind have a heightened chance of surviving many kinds of disaster. But sometimes strong communities to which many people are devoted become competitors, even enemies. One thinks of the nations of Europe. Millions of French and millions of Germans have given their lives killing each other in devotion to the French and German national communities. We can be truly grateful that at the end of World War II, de Gaulle and Adenauer decided that national communities should become parts of an international community, the European community. The actualization in Europe of a community of communities indicates that this is possible at many levels. We today are actualizing a network that is creating a community of organizations and programs, many of which are in themselves genuine communities. In abstraction, we have long promoted communities of communities. I rejoice that we are becoming one. Sadly, the European community has not supported communities in Africa and Latin America. Instead, it has joined the United States in opposing them. In the world scene, we need more communities of nations that are then in community with one another. Perhaps some of you can help to realize that vision. Meanwhile, from the outset, the Claremont process Nexus, I suggest that one of our goals is to create a network of networks among those committed to working for the salvation of the earth. Maybe we can help to create a community of communities of communities that need not be only a remote possibility. It is my impression that the great majority of us feel closely connected with programs, groups, organizations, and individuals who share much of our goal. We do not require that they join us in all our beliefs in order to work with them. Many of them are equally open. We may turn out to be the organization in best position to lead in this endeavor. And maybe a large network devoted to saving the earth could play a role in getting the political situation of the United States past its present life-threatening condition. My talk is full of maybes. Half a century ago, I thought it might be too late. It is certainly too late for much that was still possible then. But if we seize the maybes, it may not even now be too late for everything. If we retain hope, there is hope. Let us allow our success in opening to one another within this movement strengthen our hopefulness for more important changes. Let's all raise our sights for what we can do together and together with others who share our determination to save the world. Please use the new platform to discuss this and specifically to share your ideas about what the Claremont Process Nexus should become and should do. I asked Richard to put instructions in the chat. I'll close with an example of how some of us are thinking wildly about what we can do. Many, I think, agree that if China and the United States gave jointly top priority to saving the world, the prospects for life on this planet would be greatly improved. 2 weeks ago, some of us decided to ask Presidents Biden and Xi to do just that. Crazy? Of course. But at this late date, being sensible will not save us. A letter has been written. A Chinese translation is on its way to President Xi. We are trying to get a letter to President Biden as well. What if one of them took us seriously? A miracle? Yes. We badly need a good many miracles. But assuming that they ignore us, we hope eventually to get thousands, indeed hundreds of thousands of people to express support for the idea. Perhaps if it is widely discussed, politicians may eventually pay attention. We see very little hope if the United States continues to build its economic, political, and military policies around enmity with China. So we see nothing to lose by trying. If you would like to work with us, especially if you know how to reach influential people, please check your chat box for information about how to contact us. Before long, in any case, we'll be asking for you to indicate your support. Is this a project of the Nexus or of one of its members? No. It in no way commits you to anything. But I do think of it as a project of the movement of which the Claremont Process Nexus is also an expression. We individual members of that movement are motivated to act on our own. Perhaps our craziness will encourage you to be a bit more wild in your thinking as well. Some may not think your acts are wise, but I trust we will not discourage one another in our crazy efforts to save the world or some tiny part thereof. May the existence of the Nexus encourage you. And if you want support, may the platform help you to find it. That is what a network like Nexus is for. Thanks to all of you, I have hope. May the Nexus strengthen your hope as well. Our hope makes hope real.
Thank you, John. Now, what we've all been waiting for, we're going to see the platform Richard's going to show us. It's beautiful, and we have lots of announcements there. So, Richard, whenever you're ready.
All right. This is, I don't normally turn the spotlight on me, so here I am and happy to be here. Before I say anything about the platform itself, I just want to say thank you to a few people who don't normally hear thanks. I just felt like it was important to at least mention their names because they're the ones who've been with me and John and Jay and Kat. We've all been involved in this thing that we're not quite sure what to call it. We're a coordinating committee, we're a planning committee, we're facilitators, organizers, nurturers. We don't know exactly what we are, but we're just a group of people who wanted to bring you all together for this. And we don't really see ourselves in any hierarchical way as the leaders of this, but really, I don't know, co-conspirators, coordinators. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew that John Buchanan was also with us on this committee. Eugene Shirley is, John Gill. And again, along with John, of course, who's our chief instigator, and Jay and Kathleen Reeves. And I just want to also say thank you to them who have been extremely supportive to me, because we have had many conversations, and there have been many questions we've had and issues that and concerns have been raised, and they've been really supportive and helpful. And just in our meeting a couple of days ago, we had a conversation about something, and someone suggested an idea, and I was like, oh, thank you for suggesting that. I hadn't thought of that. So I'm very grateful to them. Another person that I wanted to say thank you to very quickly was Gary Bullinger. I don't think that he's here with us. Gary, he's also a tech guy, and he helped me through some things related to the platform as I was thinking about, what technologies that we might use to build this thing. And he was the one who helped test it before we opened it up to anybody else. He helped me test it to make sure everything at least was working as well as we could get it up to that point. So I wanted to say thank you to him. And finally, as I share my screen here to show the platform itself, I wanted to say thank you to Elvie Bjorkquist. Graphic designers don't often get the credit that they deserve. They don't get the recognition sometimes because they make things and we use them, and we're extremely grateful for them, but we don't always know who created that. Well, the logo was created by Elvie, and I just wanted to let her know how thankful we are for her beautiful work. She did a really beautiful job, I think, of visually capturing everything we wanted it to. It's so hard to capture a lot of things in a logo, but she got, of course, process itself and interrelatedness and diversity and community. I feel like there are all of those elements that are there. And so thank you, Elvie, for creating our visual identity. We really do appreciate it. So just a few words about the platform itself. You might be wondering, first of all, why do we keep calling this thing a platform instead of a website? And there's really two reasons why we use the word platform instead of website. The first one is that platforms, they do a variety of functions or perform a variety of functions. They serve any number of purposes, and because platforms do many things, it's really hard to fit them into a single category. So the platform is sort of this catch-all word, like social media platforms. Facebook, what is it? Well, it's a platform, and in part it is that because it just does lots of different things. Ours doesn't do lots of things, but we hope it will eventually. And that leads me to the second reason we call it a platform. The source of the information, the main source of information, what I call content, the content that really matters for this platform, it's going to be produced by the users, that's you, by the way, rather than the owners of the website or the managers of the website. That's me and us and our coordinating committee. So our primary content contributors right now are the member organizations, and we'll look at a member map in just a moment. And we're hoping that individual members will contribute more and more as time goes on as well. And we'll show you the one really important place we'd like you to do that. John just kind of alluded to it. I'll mention it here in just a second. And I just wanted to say, this is also the most challenging aspect of this particular website. I've been involved in managing or building and managing websites for about 25 years. Everyone has its own unique difficulties. Without question, the most difficult thing about this particular site is that its real value, its usefulness, it really depends entirely on the contributions of its members. So I might be the one who keeps the lights on, so to speak, right? The system is going to be up and running because of the work that I do, but I'm not responsible for the content. That's really you, because you're the main contributors. So as I've said many times, the success or the failure of this platform, and maybe even to a certain extent the Nexus itself, it really depends on the collective contributions and the interactions that we all have together. So if the purpose of the Nexus is to bring together anyone in the process movement from anywhere in the world to help increase our communications, facilitate interactions, deepen our relationships with one another, then the platform, the point of the whole reason for having the platform is that it will be our primary tool, or at least one of the main tools to help us realize our main aims. So I'm going to stay after the main part of our celebratory event here. I'm going to stay after, and in our next hour, give anybody who's interested a sort of hands-on tutorial about how to create posts and things like that. I'll answer any specific questions that you have then. So keep your comments and your questions, hold on to those for now, and then save them for later. And let me just draw your attention to a few things here. This really is version 1.0, as I said. It's not super sophisticated. There aren't a ton of features, but in this first version, and we'll be adding more things as time goes on, the main features really are announcements, events, and our discussion forum. The blog, yes, it's important. This is one of the ways one of the things we're using to get John Cobb's messages out to everyone. But then there's also our member map. So very quickly, as I scroll down through, as I scroll down through the page here, this is just your very, very short introduction to the platform. So for people who have questions, why should I join? What's the purpose? What is it? Who belongs to it? All of those. And then you've got a button there to find out more information. Then we really just have a few things on this page, and this is one of the things that might be changing. You know, if we need more room to fit more stuff, we'll change the size of this or the layout of that. But the main thing we're featuring here is announcements. Just yesterday, Jay Mcdaniel added an announcement about Interfaith Explorations, an event that he is putting on a weekly basis right now from, let's just click on this as an example. From September 29th through November 17th, there's a weekly gathering. So the homepage will feature, for now, I think I've got it set to show like 7 to 10 announcements. And then you can click on the link here, or the link all the way down at the bottom of all the announcements to see all of them. Again, we'll see how that goes. As we get more announcements and need to fit more stuff, we may change the layout. Over here on the right column, we'll have events. Right now, this is the only event, so I'll have to think about an event I can add for the Cobb Institute, and you all can think about events that you want to add to, let people know what's going on in your organization. The recent forum activity, this is the discussion forum, and this is really what John Cobb was talking about. He said I'd put something in the chat, and I can put it in the chat, but I wanted to actually show you that the discussion forum is where we hope a lot of action will take place. Not much has happened so far, but we're hoping that more and more will. Under the major headings of arts, ecological civilization, philosophy, science and math, theology, state of the world, Claremont process nexus, this is where, we have conversations about us, the things that we'd like to do together, the things we're not doing together, the platform itself, if you have questions, projects and initiatives that you'd want to be involved. I suspect project and initiatives would be a pretty good place to talk about the question John just raised. Do we want to be involved in sharing and promoting this letter that he's written to Presidents Biden and Xi? So in the discussion forum is the place for everyone, individuals and organizations. Announcements and events are primarily used by organizations to promote things happening in the, for them, and so that we can all be aware of what the organizations are doing. But the forum is for everyone, organizations and individuals alike. Finally, and then I'll conclude here, the member map. The member map is a way for us to really see visually, and probably more than anyone else, Jay Mcdaniel has been the inspiration for, and the driver for making sure we have something like this. This shows everybody who signed up so far, so it's just 35 people. There are about a little less than 30 organizations, and I think we have 5 members now. Okay, so we've got 27. These are the member organizations, and as I zoom in here, we can go right here. Who's in Arizona? This is Flagstaff College. So I'm going to zoom back out, and then let's go over here to Venezuela. In Venezuela, we've got our GEM, the Metaphysical Evolutions Research Group. And so we're getting more and more, and we're hoping we'll see more and more pins all over the globe. We've got a handful of individuals who've signed up before, but I think I just wanted to draw attention to those things, and I'll leave it at that for now. Again, we'll come back on in the next hour, and I'll go through more specifics and answer any questions you have, but sign up if you feel like you'd like to be a part of this. Jay, Kat, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Let's also thank Richard. Richard thanks everybody, but sometimes he doesn't thank himself. And so, Richard, we're so grateful to you, and you've done such a marvelous job.
Thank you.
And you've put in a few hours, I think. Is this right?
A few. Just a few.
So I want everybody to know that on that member map, it's not only organizations that can be listed as members, it's also individuals, quite apart from organizations. So our ultimate hope is for people anywhere, everywhere, to find themselves on that member map, as well as, of course, organizations. So with that, let me tell you what I get to do right now. My job in emceeing is to do nothing more than get to introduce the musicians that we have playing for us. And you might wonder, well, how is music connected with process thought? If process thought tells us that the whole universe consists of something like feeling, actually, that even energy is a form of feeling, then you can kind of ask the question, so what is music? And in some ways, music is what feelings sound like. So there are externalizations of a kind of energy that helps us hear the world. We have some very gifted musicians in our wider community, and you're going to hear 4 of them today. The first one is Sherry Kling, and some of you may know Sherry. She has a PhD and a master's in religion from the Claremont School of Theology. She'll soon be teaching a course for the Cobb Institute called Whitehead and Jung, Integrated Resources for a Fragmented World. She's the editor and author of several books. Her most recent book is itself pioneering. If you ask the question, who can tell us about connections between Carl Jung and Whitehead? I think the answer is Sherry Kling. And her book is called A Process Spirituality, Christian and Trans-Religious Resources for Transformation. Now, Sherry also is a singer-songwriter and musician in her own right. So we asked her to do a song for us today. Sherry, thank you so much for agreeing to that, and we look forward.
Thanks, Jay, and thanks, Kat, and thanks, Richard, and thanks, Dr. Cobb. This is so wonderful. I'm going to play a song that maybe many of you have heard already. It's one that I wrote while I was at Claremont. I was actually in one of my very first classes with Roland Faber on eco-process theology, and he so wonderfully allowed his students to do a midterm project that was creative. So I wrote a song called We All Are Related that I envision as a hymn. And the very first part is really intended to be a choral chant. So it's only me singing it, but you'll have to imagine many voices behind me all singing in harmony to this first part, which tells the scientific story of the universe. And then the rest talks about our relationships. Fiery brilliance, cooling gas, condensing gravity, atoms forming stars, and carbon fuel diversity. Earth with sky and oceans, molecules then multiply. Stardust is the mater of the cosmos and all life. We all are related, woven as threads in Earth's tapestry. A kinship creation depending on all in deep harmony. Internally formed by each other, creative and free. We all are related, wholly and actively. The world is becoming, the future of God is luring us there. Grace within chaos, the power of the new, holiness bear. The singer is singing the song we are yearning to share. The world is becoming, processes everywhere. God is embodied, word become flesh in all that we see. Deeply incarnate in every bird and every tree. In the heartbeat of billions of bodies just wanting to be, God is embodied, soul of the world, breathing in me. And all things have value, all the way up and all the way down. God is redeeming the lowliest stone and the glorious crown. Christ is the pattern in every atom around. All things have value, whispering spirit sound. We need liberation from seeing our world as dead matter machines. All creatures as neighbors, a healing embrace, so held we are free. And training our rhythms to the heartbeat of life, consciously we are related. In a world that's becoming, where God is embodied, and all things have value, we are liberated, affirming the world we see.
Wonderful. That was beautiful. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
So that's a perfect setup for me because we all are related and we are all the Nexus. It's, there's a handful of us that have been doing the work behind the scenes, but we're just doing the work. Everybody here is the Nexus and more. And so we are going to be hearing from a few people about the Nexus and how they're going to use it and what it means to them. And I'll be introducing them. But what I want to ask everybody to do, because we don't have time in the program for everybody to speak, but I want you to put in the chat what organization you're with, or if you're an individual, and just put a little bit about yourself or the organization so that we get all that information, and we're just going to have all this coming together, weaving together. And then I'm going to introduce, I think that Stephen Yorba, our first speaker, I think we weren't sure if he was going to be able to be here, but I just wanted to say something about him and community partners for urban agriculture, and that he's been bringing more than 3 decades of experience in community wellness and education. The Reverend Farmer Stephen Yorba oversees the development and implementation of Urban Mission Community Partners Urban Agriculture Program. And I've been out to see the farm, and I've picked the tomatoes from the farm and eaten them and picked fruit off the tree. And he's got a huge project going. And so I know that the Nexus is going to be very helpful to him as he tries to get the word out about what programs he has going on and just seeking support. So, and I just want to make sure Stephen is not here, right? Okay. All right, so we're move on to our next speaker, and that's Meijun Fan, and she's going to be talking about the Institute for the Postmodern Development of China and how it weds the best Chinese and Western resources to identify global pathways towards ecological civilization. And I know that we will enjoy hearing from Meijun about what's going on with the organization so we can keep track of that. So Meijun, tell me about how you're excited about the Nexus and how you're going to use it. And I want to hear from you. Thanks.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you, everyone. So I'm so excited. And also, thank you for inviting me to share my thought about our organization and about the new Nexus. Yeah, I'm glad, I'm proud actually to be a part of the Claremont process Nexus. You know, as our organization, the Institute for Postmodern Development of China. Yeah, so it's a nonprofit organization formed in California. And so our bridge, you can visit our website. Our bridge, our logo, it's a bridge. We want to build the bridge between China and the US. And through the toward, in order toward to ecological civilization and create, you know, the new development model. Yeah, I think now it's extremely big, important at this moment, you know, the tension between China and the US. And since 2005, so we have the educational program, like such as our summer process, learning program. And we have a COP, Eco Academy in China. We have our website, GNEE. Richard also helped to establish that website. That is a global network of ecological education. We have a visiting scholar program. So far, before pandemic, we invite about more than 60 Chinese scholars stay in Claremont to do their research process philosophy. And also we organize more than 100 conference basis on the various topics, such as indigenous seeds, ecological agriculture, and educational reform. And also we have a platform for the annual conference on ecological civilization. So far, more than 1,000 Chinese scholars and NGO people joined this conference in Claremont. But this year, this conference took place online. And also we organize we organize 100 lectures, especially in China. We invite so many American scholars to go to China. That's which is before pandemic. Yeah, to deliver a lecture to educate our young generation for the new civilization. Also, during the pandemic, we have this serious talk on ecological education organized by COP Eco Academy. So far, more than 100,000 review in total, because this series lecture already have 10 lecture on various topics. Also, we do our media in Chinese, the newspaper, cultural communication, and the public WeChat account and the other social media. And just last night, during the Chinese National Day, so we had a gallery to communicate with our Chinese process circle. So we already made this announcement about this Claremont process Nexus established today. So all of them feel excited, you know, and we just want to thank you. So we are in Claremont, yeah. But I know many of you behind us support us. So through the new Nexus, I think we will get strong support, even stronger than before, to build the new model of a new civilization. So thank you, all of you.
Thank you, May. All right, next up, I'm going to talk about Ecosiv. They work internationally to design and scale solutions toward long-term sustainability, focusing on water, economies, and human communities. They conduct research, convene experts, and facilitate the quest for solutions. And I would like to introduce Philip Clayton.
Hey everybody, this is a joyful morning, afternoon, or evening to be together with you guys. Ecosiv was actually born in 2010 when John called me to his house and said, for the next 5 years, we're going to be preparing this global conference and we really need all the time you have. And you get those sort of calls, and so the answer was yes. And after an incredible 2015 conference, John sat us down, Andrew Schwartz and me, and said, you need to form now a nonprofit and carry on this work for the rest of your life. And so, of course, I said, yes. And Ecosiv now has 19 full-time and part-time staff and projects in many countries around the world. Our goal is to work with leaders to help bring about the transition to an ecological civilization. It's right there in the title. And we do that by working with the goal of what an ecological civilization requires, and then from there move back to the present and try to say what would be a roadmap to actually get there. With every project, we combine work on the ground in some parts of the world with a broader vision, the website, the global dialogue series that Andrew Schwartz leads, something else at that global scale. And by combining the individual concrete work in various sectors and that global work, we hope to bring about change. So a water conference in Cape Town led now to doing the water website for UNESCO. The work with small communities in North Seoul led, thanks to the powerful work of our colleagues in Korea, to 4 annual conferences with the mayor's office and a conference with the prime minister's office. We're working now with businesses who can help launch a race to the top, as we say, to try to be leaders in the transformation towards sustainability. So obviously this is born from John's vision 11 years ago that we really need to name where we need to get to, which is a thoroughly ecological civilization. I want to acknowledge the leadership role of Jaha and May, who had started doing this work a decade earlier in China and made it possible for us now to build on that and to try to do it in the West as well. Thank you, and I share the joy of this day.
Thank you, Philip. All right, next we are going to hear from the Cobb Institute, named in honor of our founder, John Cobb. It promotes the process-relational way of understanding and living in the world. As a philosophical outlook, it shares wisdom, emphasizes harmony, and focuses on the common good. We live out this philosophy by working to build an ecological civilization. And speaking for the Cobb Institute is John Fahey.
Hi, everybody. So I have been part of the Cobb Institute since it began 3 years ago. And, that first year was really an interesting year. We'd meet every Tuesday, and every Tuesday afternoon after the meetings, I'd go out to lunch with John Gingrich, and we'd talk about the Cobb Institute. And that was a very special time for me, those lunch meetings and the times before and after the meetings, where we were able to connect in person. And I come from the technology world. I spent a lot of time in the world of technology, and I'm very excited about the possibilities for the Claremont Nexus and the ability for the technology to keep us connected around the world. But I also want to manage and maintain those human connections. And it's hard to reach out and hold someone's hand over Zoom when they're feeling a little bit of pain. And I recently put a front porch out on my house. And this is, you're looking across the street at Pilgrim Place. And not more than a few hundred yards away is Michael Whitmer and Ron Hines and John Cobb. And we all Zoom to these meetings on Tuesday now. And there's something odd about that. We were started out as a community, and I hope we don't lose the human touch of the community. And for the last 3 years as a chair of the board, I've spent a lot of time talking about balance, and I think we need to balance the use of our technology with maintaining our human connections, because those were what drew me to the Cobb Institute in the first place. Similar to Philip, I made the mistake of asking John Cobb a question at the organizing meeting, and he said, "Well, we don't have that, but we do need some help. Would you help us?" And I said, "Well, who am I to say no to John Cobb?" So that's how I got involved. But I hope we maintain a balance between what we can do with the technology and what we've always done with the human relationship. So thank you for allowing me to say a few words this morning.
Hey, Jay?
All right, time for some more music. I want to introduce John Gill, and he is the cross-community coordinator for the Center for Process Studies. He's also a visiting assistant professor of philosophy at Gustavus Adolphus College in the United States. He earned his PhD in philosophy of religion and theology from the Claremont Graduate University. He's written multiple articles on religion, hip hop, philosophy, and theology, often lectures on these fields too. He's the author of a book called Underground Rap as Religion, a theopoetic exploration of a process aesthetic religion. And John is a hip hop musician and rapper in his own right. And we just didn't think that we could have a Process Nexus meeting without some hip hop and rap. This is a real experiment. John, where are you? Are you there? There you are.
I'm right here.
So John, you're on. Thank you so much. We're ready.
Thank you so much, Nexus. It's good to be here. I'm honored to be in the presence of everyone and everyone who's come before. So it's been really wonderful. I am going to do something. But while I set up what I'm doing, the garden of the mystery, the royal speaker secret, pursued on surface so we go underground to be it. Sacred turntables do spin in temples below Ren. We chant rhymes venerating embalmed women and men. Ritual alchemical texts that spread the myth. But I discovered the tomb they told you don't exist. Dirt discarded, demarred, and covered with blogger buzz. Matriarchs and patriarchs were treated like they never was. But our essence flows through the annals of space and time. So Sangreal, its power, can't be left behind. Like Tim LaHaye, sentence sprayed from Templars to Arcadia. Encoded to be decoded and quoted among demoted. Princes that spit a diss and shift wigs like continents. We are the blade and the chalice, the holders of ancient arts. Too sublime for charts. Echo esoteric gnosis you might miss, so stay focused. Whether brains covered in eastern star or lotus. Thorns in the side of the great lie that said the sword MCs died. That was a sound check. This song is called Advent. It's from a friend of mine, I'd Be Focused, and myself. We did a record called Advent, a Modern Bible, in 2012. And we were trying to imagine what it would be like to experience the common good and invoke the common good in the world in the ways that we do it through hip hop. So this is a quick segment. Let me move this chair so I can feel free over here. Okay, that's better. Hey yo, I'm seeking, bleeding, leaking through this married love. It's comfort. I'm feeling like I never was. A part of the cycle of whirlwind and nothing. This dark room is plummeting. I'm bound to shoot busting. So death penalty, blow, it's time to move rushing. In this outer space that makes us all function. If you're ready to build and tired of it crumbling, Advent is here, y'all. It's time to change something. The war is ended. Shot pricks combing my crosshairs. I break the purple Uzi and beat my sword to plowshares. Seeking a source that I abstracted with my first sound and pushing the darkness of fatal thoughts back to the background. In layman language, my soul comes with pain and anguish. A stammering tongue, a broken bank, a skeptic arrangement. The fantasies I painted on the first record. Stain the mic with a passion to blasting the God and then relaxing in black holes on flower children mattresses. Listen to stars that can't rap kids who are dark horns up make luminous past like laxatives. Evil laughter with cannabis art institute anti-amateurs. Flow on walls sprouted the past and plaster makeup on damages. I fought God in our own system, avoiding the war was wave files and thought because I dissed her being that I would be a brave child. She healed my fragmentations as I strove to erode her and hung my negatives crucified on 16 exposures. It's like I'm seeking, bleeding, leaking through this married love. It got me possessed, I'm feeling like I never was. A part of the cycle, a whirlwind of nothing. This dark room is plummeting, I'm bound to shoot busting. So death penalty, blow, it's time to move rushing. Through this outer space that makes us all function. If you're ready to build and tired of it crumbling, Advent is here, y'all. Bring life into the beat. Mike, fight up in the street. Let me cremate your MC career when I compete. No, I slight myself if I cause a rapper some pain when it's fear is global warming, death by tsunamis and rain. I've seen my people cast spells in their culture to turn white. Illegals sneak past scrimmage lines to be first down and star strikes. We all bruised. We all bleed the blue Crayola. But let's stop being played and capriciously seize the controller. I wage war alongside hidden images of Kali Growler, her two-inch blades, clashing demons entrenched deep in the system of rich and richer. Moguls who piss on lower social. My song called Hate to Break 'em. My love supreme, not supposed to. I live in ages where ghetto youth puffing get higher. And Obama assassinated by Jeremiah. Death penalty shots lack the punch and the thunder sound, but I rock the bells till my name rings through the underground. Hey yo, I'm seeking, bleeding, leaking through this married love. It's got me possessed, I'm leaping like I never was. A part of the cycle, the whirlwind of nothing. This dark room is plummeting, I'm bound to shoot bussin'. So death penalty, blow, it's time to move rushing through this outer space that makes us all function. If you're ready to build and tired of it crumbling, Advent is here, y'all. It's time to change something. Peace. Process Nexus.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Thank you so much, John. And that's the first time I've ever heard you rapping.
Really?
Yeah. You should do it more often where we can hear you.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. I know that's a hard act to follow, but we do have some wonderful more performers, and and we're going to hear from some more people. Next up is Catherine Keller, and she is a professor of constructive theology at Drew University Theological School. And her organization consists of many of her present and formal doctoral students in theological and philosophical studies in religion. And they meet at least monthly to discuss each other's writing. And many are oriented to process thought and its activating capacities. Catherine Keller.
So thank you for this opportunity to be the great anticlimax after John. But I am delighted to be part of this kickoff. If a nexus is something you kick off, but this is a beautiful, fresh web of webs of process connections of connections of connections. And I love witnessing the growth of its world-shifting process. I hope that Biden and Xi get the message that John Cobb is sending them. His work on the salvation of the world, always completely humble, has been deep in me for almost half a century. I remember vividly these words on a walk with him down from the Theo School in Claremont nearly 50 years ago, saying, what we need is a crisis that is big enough to wake enough people up, but not so big that it's too late. And in this nexus, we all know that we are tipping toward too late. There's a fellowship in that. And we also know that we're not there yet. I myself always do too little to make a real difference. But I will go on teaching and writing. Increasingly, I'm doing Zooms and blogs for wider publics, partly enabled by COVID, learning more, getting more virtual because of it. And the organization I signed onto CPN with was called the Keller Collective. That was the name a student gave it, and it stuck, unfortunately. That's a gathering of my doctoral students in process, but increasingly also the network of alums and some interested others. I mean, doctoral students who are in the process of becoming doctors, but all of them are influenced in some way by process thought and theology. Now, as it turns out, a couple of the students are right now working with me to initiate something new, really their idea, that would be called the Transdisciplinary Theological Collective. That is taking its name from a series of 20 annual conferences that I've organized. But now it will merge with this other collective. And what they want to do is build a platform. So I'm meeting with them in a couple of days, but I've been better educated by this event today as to what it is that we're up to. And this would expand our work directly into its wider networks of scholars, of thinkers, but of activists, of public leaders and imaginers and visionaries like you, and would develop new public and activist potentials. So I'm glad we can link up with all of you. And in the meantime, I'm just plain glad about the work of the Claremont Process Nexus. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next up is Pando Populus. And Pando works at the intersection of education and public agencies to implement Los Angeles County sustainability goals. Its flagship program is higher ed, and Pando Days brings colleges and universities together throughout the Southland to focus on transdisciplinary, project-driven, values-oriented work, and is bringing about important on-the-ground change. Pando was founded by John Cobb and Eugene Shirley in collaboration with a highly diverse and creative team. We will hear from Eugene.
Thanks, Kat, very much. And thanks to everybody. It's great to see everyone on here. I'm Eugene Shirley with Pando. We're the organization with the funny name that goes to the heart of the interconnectedness that process thought is all about. Pando's the name of the largest living thing on earth, one tree forest, 47,000 trunks, all one tree. As Maria Shriver puts it, Pando means I belong to you, you belong to me, we belong to each other. So that's Pando. As Kat said, we're founded a number of years back, 2014, helped John Cobb and his wonderful team with the 2015 conference. And since that time, we've developed a niche that focuses at the intersection of education and sustainability, higher ed, K-12, professional development, and the church. We have programs aggressively moving forward in all those areas. I've been part of the Nexus planning team because process thought has shaped my life and commitments ever since I had John Cobb as a professor 40 years ago. And since that time, various process organizations have been part of my intellectual world, one way or another, but not all of them necessarily at the level of felt connectivity, just because we're all limited. And the Nexus, though, for me, offers the opportunity to deepen that connective tissue with so many and with all who are here, to deepen the felt relationships with the broader community extending around the world. We're all aiming to offer hope. It will surely be grounded in deepening relational feelings, increasing understanding, and more effectively strategizing. The Nexus is a vehicle, as I see it, for facilitating this within the process world. Many thanks to John Cobb, John Buchanan, Richard, Kat, the Nexus advisors, and the whole of this community for supporting it and for making it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. Next up, I'm excited to introduce, it's GIEM, it stands for Metaphysical Evolutions Research Group in Central University of Venezuela. And GEM is a philosopher's team focused on studying, promoting, and applying process thinking to all facets of reality, physical, metaphysical, social, personal, ethical, etc., in an Ibero-American context. And I'm going to introduce Maria Guadalupe Yanez, who I know as Lupe. Many of you know as Lupe through social media. And I'm excited to actually see Lupe for the first time somewhere outside of Facebook. Lupe?
Hi. Hi, everybody. We from Venezuela are very happy and grateful to join this creative advancement into novelty called the Claremont Process Nexus. This is perceived as a road towards comprehension and mutual experiences with us in a comprehension and a shared progression, both from the theological as well as from naturalistic perspectives, following a Spinozian, Whiteheadian, Deleuzian, and contemporary readings. Presently in Venezuela, we are grouped under rhizome of researchers orchestrated by Dr. Maria Guadalupe Yanez, a group named Metaphysics Evolution Research Group, Grupo de Investigación de Evoluciones Metafísicas. And our interests are permanence, emergence, and dialogue. Our group stems from the Faculty of Human Studies and Education at the Universidad Central de Venezuela annual research seminars. This seminar led to a set of sites in Spanish language, which have been recently published and which also be presented in the coming months as part of the upcoming celebration of 300 years of the Venezuelan University campus. It is with such an impulse that we join today an international research network that includes members from Europe and America, led by Dr. Carlos Sierra Lechuga. This network is currently dedicated to addressing the dynamic structure of reality in accordance with postulates by Spanish philosopher Xavier Zubiri, in order to find possible common ground with the philosophy of process. The product of the research network will be published in 2022 in Logoy, the Universidad Católica Andrés Bello Philosophy Review in Caracas. These efforts have also been complemented with further activities which have been taking place despite the global restriction imposed by the pandemic. Some of the activities include informal forum called Ecosiv, as well as participation in national and international events held in Italy, the United Kingdom, and the United States. For all these reasons, we are deeply thankful for the kind invitation extended to us by the Claremont Process Nexus by way of Dr. John Cobb and J. Mcdaniel. We hope to learn and to share knowledge and experiences, and we hope to use the platform to be as a part of a global nexus. Thankful for the opportunity to co-growing and concurrence within a global community. I am Dr. Edgar Blanco Carrero.
Thank you. And I'm sorry for introducing you as Lupe. I thought Lupe was speaking, but we're happy to have you as well. And I think Lupe's here. She just wasn't able to speak. All right, next up we have Lilia Diaz Mariano, and she's the coordinator of the process research at the National Council of Scientific and Technological Development and Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, and the director of Eagle Knowledge Management, which is an educational company in Brazil that is nurtured by the relational ethics of process thought.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry, I'm almost leaving you because I have another appointment right now, but I would like to introduce myself very quickly. My name is Lilia Mariano, as was told. I'm a founder president of Eagle Knowledge of Management. That is an educational company very inspired by process thought and process research. Our objective is, as Nexus partner, is to connect the research and praxis for a sustainable relational ethics in Brazil and Latin America. Right now, we are leading this study group that is a national study group with 27 researchers associated from 12 different universities. Also, we have some partnership to co-founding some initiatives of the researchers of this group. So I don't know if I can share my screen for you a little quickly.
We're having a little technical problem. Stanley, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yes. Yeah, I would like to introduce you some of these projects that we are assembling. This is the first of all is assemblage, that is a team that is doing process education in philosophical skills and very practical ways. Also, the Center for Environmental Education that is coordinated by Professor Lourdes Brazil. This is a center of environmental education that connects schools and churches and develops reforestation in several areas of Rio de Janeiro. And also, this is our research that is Priscila Ribeiro. She is coordinating the initiatives among the original indigenous nations with us. So we are very proud to be this company that is connecting different initiatives of our researchers, and we are very glad to be here and to be part of Nexus. It's a very big pleasure. We have a very good interchanging, I mentioned a lot of you in my doctoral thesis that I just ended to write. So your names are in my research, several of you, and I'm spreading your vision for the Brazilian researcher and for everybody. So thank you a lot for this opportunity. Thank you, John. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Kat, for your organization, your very, very good job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now Jay is going to introduce our next performer.
So one question that I'm sure we all ask ourselves is, how can you actually practice process philosophy in a local setting? And I bring you the next person today. His name is Dr. Joe Lombardi. And Joe is not a process theologian, he's a biologist. He has a PhD in biology, taught biology at a liberal arts college, thinks in biological terms. That's his life, or was his life. And when it comes to the idea of God, that's kind of a mystery to Joe. He doesn't gravitate toward that. He gravitates toward the earth and toward the beauty of the earth and helping to preserve the earth. Now, Joe and I work together also at a very local level. We do sing-along music at local nursing homes, 4 nursing homes in Conway. We do it about twice a week. And we go to nursing homes and we sing "You Are My Sunshine" and all these songs that mean something to them. And we give them, to the best of our ability, moments of joy. And I myself think of that as process philosophy. To my mind, process philosophy is not just about the big picture. It's about the fine grain. It's about what we do in our local settings, one-on-one in deeply personal ways. Now, Joe also loves the earth, and he wrote a song called "Spirit" that, to my mind, is one of the best songs in process theology I've ever heard, but he would never call it that. But he's going to sing it for us. Joe, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Jay. Can you all hear me okay? Can you hear me? Thanks for that generous introduction. This song was written many years ago. I was a camper and then a counselor at a summer camp. I was born and raised in Philadelphia, and this was a camp about 30 miles outside of Philadelphia in the rolling hills of Pennsylvania. So that was my first introduction to nature, I think. As a child growing up in Philadelphia, I had not much of nature to see, but streets of asphalt and buildings of brick was how most of the world seemed to me. Then my summers I'd spend in the country, in the East Pennsylvania hills, at a camp near farmlands and forests and fields, a serenity that dwells with me still. And over the years I would learn there about Native American lore, and I began to feel one with the natural and wild, like those who had lived long before. And a voice from within me would whisper through the rustle of the red maple trees, as the spirit that nurtures the universe spoke in the sound of the soft summer breeze. Oh, I'll be here as long as the mountains, the rivers, the lakes, and the trees. Until then, may I watch eagles soar through the sky and the salmon come home from the seas. As I watch over all of Earth's children, the land, air, and water so blue, and all of the creatures that never ask why, I'm the spirit within each of you. and it spoke from the stream I would swim in, and the willows that shaded its shore, and the whippoorwill's song as the nighttime drew on, or the wind through the old cabin door. From campfires on cool summer's evening, with the flames dancing, crackling song, or the chirp of the cricket, or the katydid's trill that would comfort me all night long. And the spirit remained always with me. Through the seasons I would still hear it call, from the cornfields in summer that covered the hills, to the gold leaves that colored the fall, or a winter's night snow on the fence road, bright mountain drifts reaching the moon, or a bullfrog spring bellow that would lull me to sleep, to awake to a mockingbird's tune. But encroachment by man was relentless, as the life of the forest grew still, as the bulldozers plowed out the wide logging roads to haul trees to the old lumber mill, and the forests were transformed to houses and yards, the fields to apartments and malls, and gone were the katydids, turtles, and streams, and the whippoorwill's long evening calls, and gone was the red fox that slipped through the fence row, the wildflowers that blossomed each year, and the blackberry thickets that bordered the fields that fed the box turtles and deer. For their homes have been taken away from us all, and we'll suffer the loss, I believe, because I know that the death of my campestral home left the spirit within me to grieve. It said I am the soul of the universe, I'm the seasons from winter to fall, I'm the life of the water, the air, and the land, and the creatures that bound in them all. And I'll speak to whoever will open her heart, to a wisdom we harbor within, that we are all one with the stars and the sun, with the earth and with each living thing. Oh, I'll be here as long as the mountains, the rivers, the lakes, and the trees, and forever may I watch eagles soar through the sky, and the salmon come home from the seas, as I watch over all of Earth's children, the land, air, and water so blue, and all of the creatures that never ask why. I'm a spirit within each of you, and all of the creatures, even those who ask why. I'm a spirit within each of you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is the Center for Process Studies. Driven by the principle of relationality and commitment to the common good, the Center for Process Studies, otherwise known as CPS, works on cutting-edge discourse across disciplines to promote the exploration of interconnection, change, and intrinsic value as core features of our world. Andrew Schwartz, welcome.
Thanks, Kat. It's my pleasure to see all of you, most of whom I know and some of whom I don't, which is actually super, super exciting. And part of what I imagine is the point of the Claremont Process Nexus is to connect us, right? And to not just confine ourselves to those communities that we know, but to extend and expand our community of communities in ways that we didn't imagine were possible. So I'm honored to be here on behalf of the Center for Process Studies to see all of you. The Center for Process Studies is, I think, the oldest of our process organizations, established by our Dr. John Cobb and David Griffin in 1973 as a faculty center in Claremont, California, Claremont School of Theology, affiliated with Claremont Graduate University. But now we're located up in Salem, Oregon, Still a faculty center of Claremont School of Theology, but on the branch campus over at Willamette University. So I miss all of my Claremont people, but it's good to see you online from Oregon. The Center for Process Studies does a lot of cool things. We do a lot of events, educational things, research related things, visiting scholar programs, conferences and seminars, some of which are sort of more academic focused for like deepening understanding of process thought and its implications for other fields. And some of it is sort of outward thinking, trying to spread those ideas. As Kat mentioned, you know, we're a relational worldview for the common good is sort of our slogan. And those two pieces are inseparable in a lot of ways. This understanding of Whitehead's relational worldview is not different from working toward the common good. But that work is not something that the center can do by itself. It's something that requires community. So go figure that a relational worldview would depend on actual relationality. And that's something that I love about the development of this Claremont Process Nexus is that it shifts the focus from where things used to be, where it's the Center for Process Studies and organizations like ours are sort of the center of the conversation. And we are drawing people into us and people can contribute to sort of what we're offering, but really it's the work is coming from within the center out. And now we've completely flipped it on its head. We have a decentered approach that's community-led. The website and platform that Richard showed us is one where you all are leading the way, contributing to content. And I see that the function of the Center for Process moving forward, the Center for Process Studies moving forward, is largely a support function, a facilitating function in the spirit of the Claremont Process Nexus, creating a space for collaboration and an exchange of ideas that would benefit the long-term well-being of people on the planet through exploration into the sciences, to psychology, to theology and philosophy and education and more. So it's an honor for me to be a part of this group and to see all of you. I look forward to connecting more. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. Next up, we will hear about the Church of Our Common Home, God-centered and guided and dedicated to Mother Earth and the Divine Feminine, loving community and the arts, a nonprofit that provides artistic, religious, and psychological services to awaken the moral and ecologic crisis as an invitation for spiritual growth and creating loving community with all of creation, caring for our common home, Mother Earth. Bonnie Tarwater.
Hi, I did not expect to get a chance to say hello to everyone. It's wonderful to be with everybody. Congratulations, John Cobb, Jay, Kat, Richard. And I have to share, I remember sitting in a room with Dr. Cobb and Richard Livingston, and I think you were there, Andrew, when he was just beginning talking about this. So it's wonderful to see this come alive. So congratulations to everyone, and please come visit us in Oregon. We are delighted to be here doing biodynamic farming and continuing our work in our church. And it's just an honor to be with all of you.
Thank you, Bonnie. And then finally, we are going to hear, we actually have a video. Tom Ord sent a video, but we do have a representative from the Center for Open and Relational Theology here, Brian, and you might have to help me with your last name, Belushoki. So anyway, let me tell you about the Center for Open and Relational Theology. It began in 2019. It fosters networks, develops resources, sponsors projects, and promotes events that deepen and broaden open and relational theologies. And we will hear from Tom Ord via video.
It's my pleasure to be with you all today. I'm Thomas J. Ord, and I'm coming to the Nexus wearing two hats. One hat is being the director of the Center for Open and Relational Theology. The other hat is being the director for a doctoral program in open and relational theology that is held under the Northwind Theological Seminary Network and also co-sponsored by the Center for Open and Relational Theology. In terms of my aspirations and hopes and dreams for this particular conversation, I guess I'm not exactly sure where things might go, but I know there's great value in collaboration. There's great value in putting our resources together. Many times when I'm working with my doctoral students on subjects that I know less about, I suggest they look into other works in the broader process community. There are topics that some people have written large books on that I know very little about. So just having those kinds of connections can help my own students as we try to broaden and deepen the kind of theological lenses that we're working with. I also know that as someone who's interested in open relational theology and its connection to process thought, that there are topics that I care about that may not have an explicitly theological take. For instance, I care a great deal about the climate, and I think God does too. But a lot of the conversations about climate change kind of set aside religion. And I want to be able to participate in those conversations, even if they don't have a specifically theological focus. In terms of what I want to provide and sort of receive from you all, I'm still kind of trying to figure that out, to be honest. There's always, it's nice to have friendships. And that's what I mean in part when I talk about collaboration. But I guess as someone who is running the center and also the doctoral program, I want you to be aware of the resources I have to offer as well. And if there's any ways in which there are people who you think would be a good fit with what I'm doing, send them my way, and I will do the same for you all as I learn more about your own individual programs, your agendas, your projects, the kind of things you're trying to do. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I hope this gives you an idea of who I am, the kinds of interests I have, and my excitement about being a part of this Nexus. Thanks.
Thanks. And Jay, you're...
So we have one more musical offering. And you're about to hear a really marvelous voice. And the voice belongs to somebody that we love. And his name is John Gingrich. And he was the first chair of the Cobb Institute board. He was also its educational team leader. He was also its treasurer. He passed away December 7th, 2020, but he's not at all forgotten. And his spirit is very much with us. And I want to say hello to Jackie, his wife. It's good to see you, Jackie. Now we have the Cobb Institute has connections with the University of Laverne in Laverne, California. That's thanks to John Gingrich. He was dean of the College of Arts and Sciences for 16 years. He just set so much of the tone there. And it's because of him that we have that connection. It's because of him that we exist today. His leadership helps so much. But he could also really sing. And I want you to hear his voice. And that's the last musical accompaniment we'll have. Now, when I listened to a lot of his music, a lot of it was religious and it's beautiful. And I don't know what got into me, but I thought, well, maybe we should just hear something non-religious. And I talked to Jackie and she said, well, you know, he did sing I Left My Heart in San Francisco and all kinds of things like that too. And she mentioned, Oh, Canada. And I thought, that is such a beautiful melody. I'd like to hear that. Now, how to connect Oh, Canada with processed thought? I leave that to you. But what I know is that you're about to hear a gorgeous rendition of O Canada, and thanks to John Gingrich for inspiring us.
KABC, Los Angeles.
Now the Canadian National Anthem will be sung tonight by John Gingrich at the University of Laverne, and the U.S. Anthem will be sung by the University of Laverne Chamber Singers.
Directed by Janice Law.
Thank you, John Gingrich.
Yeah, wow.
We miss you, but
Yeah,
we'll
I'm all
keep going.
choked up.
We'll keep going for sure. And so now I think that it's time for Kat or somebody to bring this to a close. Is that right? And then